Hello and welcome to Spotlight number 7. Spotlight number 7. Um, let's just say when I came up with the idea of the spotlights, this was one that I wanted to do. And now at Spotlight 7, I get a chance to do it. Spotlight number 7 focuses on Antwon Grant, Mr. Antwon. AccessGRANTed is something that like I say, I wanted to do. I've been a fan of what he has been doing for quite a while and the way he has been able to do it. So it was only fitting that I brought him on as a guest on the spotlights. It was an education. I'm actually shooting this after the conversation, and not to take away from conversations with Fee, but Antwon had an analogy of interviews versus conversations, but you'll see that in the spotlight itself. So let's get on with it. Spotlight number 7, spotlight on AccessGRANTed. All right. Hello, everybody. This is spotlight number 7, I believe, and it's a spotlight that I wanted to do for a while, but this is a spotlight that was actually sanctioned by Pastor Phil himself because he wanted me to do it. I don't know why, but it is. So everybody knows Mr. Antwon. So Mr. Antwon Grant of AccessGRANTed. The spotlight tonight is going to be on AccessGRANTed. Antwon, how are you, sir?
Doing pretty good, man.
Good.
Something going on right now with the family and everything, but hanging in there, man. Hanging in there.
And you know that we're with you, and you
Absolutely.
have our prayers and condolences. But you know how VLF Nation are. We're there for each other.
Super, super big shout out to VLF, man.
Yeah, yeah. So, and we're going to talk about something you want to do later, right?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. All right. So, we both have been running late. But like I said, I really wanted to do this interview, and like I have to tell everybody, my camera's here. I got 2 screens, so I'm looking at us.
Right. I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I
Okay.
remember looking to the camera.
All right. So, let's kick it off. You've been doing this for a while, um, but it wasn't always in the context of AccessGRANTed.
Correct.
So I don't know if you want to tell us where you started from or how AccessGRANTed started, or blend it all into the same question.
I can blend it in the same question. It's pretty simple. I actually started doing radio back in 2014, online radio. I started with a show called Baltimore Flavor Radio, which, as I've told the story many a times, I started because I didn't like the perception that people outside of Baltimore had of Baltimore. Everybody kind of equated the city to a couple of things, one being the wire, one being, the Freddie Gray riots and all of that kind of stuff. And, I used to talk to people, from outside of Baltimore, and would be like, wow, this is really all you guys think of when you hear the word Baltimore. And unfortunately, a lot of the media at that time, that was really all that, they showed with the negative stuff. So I decided that I wanted to do a platform just to, spread a little bit more of what was going on with the positive side of the city. It actually started out as a website called Baltimore Flavor. And then I had the opportunity to move it onto the online radio part of it. And I started out at WPB Radio, which was in Woodlawn at the time, under Frank Johnson and his wife, April Johnson. And for people that don't know, 9.5 times out of 10, if you are a show that's on an online radio show, you're paying for that slot. Okay, just to make that part clear. And what I was paying at that original radio station was equivalent to a car note. It was a lot.
Right.
And wasn't generating the money in from that to justify paying that amount. So moved to a couple of different stations over that time, and then made the decision along with my partner Jay McGraw and another partner that we had in A. Michelle at that time, to start our own radio station, which we did, I want to say in 2016, I believe. And the reason that we made that decision was because at that time we had our shows, our various shows on a lot of different stations, and wanted to right a lot of the wrongs that we were seeing. And, wanted to bring shows in and treat those shows the way that we would have wanted to be treated when we were at those other stations, so to speak. And then after we started Worldwide Flavor Network, about a year later, Jay and I decided to venture out and start Power 4.4 Radio. We did that because we just didn't like the business that was going on with the partner that we had at the time, and just decided to, branch off and do our own thing. And I was able to do that up until the pandemic started. And around that time, between just the pandemic itself and the world literally shutting down and health problems that I was going with on my own, had to step away from that situation. So in March of 2020, I stepped down, and that's the last time I did, anything radio related. But then around October, November, I started having that bug to, start getting back to interviewing and talking to people and everything. And I never forget this. I went on a trip to Indianapolis with a friend of mine. We put on a showcase up there that I hosted. And young lady that I met up there, her name was T Quest, and she's a big radio personality, but she does a lot. And just in conversations with her, man, she just really encouraged me to just go ahead and, do the podcast platform. And the fact that I could do everything virtually, it was like a no-brainer. So in December of 2020, I launched AccessGRANTed. AccessGRANTed was actually supposed to be, originally, before that, was supposed to be a show where I was going around to like different restaurants and different clubs and different businesses around the city. And, we're going to spotlight them. But the pandemic totally shut that down. So when I decided to bring the podcast back, I said that I would use, the same name, because I'd already had the logo and everything at that point. So we just rolled from there. And, ever since December of 2020, man, we've been rolling. We get ready. Actually, now this is 3 years for us. So okay. It's a blessing. And it's actually been a blessing in disguise, because I didn't think about the fact that with everything being virtual, that I would then be able to have guests from all around the world.
Which is a question that we're going to circle back around to.
Gotcha.
So, am I coming in good?
Yes.
All right, because the microphone that I was going to use is sitting there, and I hadn't plugged it in. So we're going on the microphone on the camera. So you explained how you got into it as far as wanting to put Baltimore in a new light, and now comes AccessGRANTed. So, and I'm rocking the logo myself. I mean, it's my favorite hoodie, but I have to be careful because I don't want nothing on the white. But you told us where it was, but AccessGRANTed, because when I tune in, I see the people that you're talking to, and I say we're going to circle back around to that. But is there, or what is the central focus of AccessGRANTed?
So first of all, let me say this. If you look at the logo, you see the A and a G. That's actually the initials of my government name. And I don't know why that kind of goes over a lot of people's heads.
It does.
when they look at it. But so I just came up with the name based off of that. And it's crazy because if you actually look up AccessGRANTed, there's like been 1,000,001 shows.
Really?
One different like show segments that have been called AccessGRANTed, but none of them have been as good as mine. So they don't count. But basically, what I want to do with this show, I've had the opportunity to interview a lot of people that I am actually fans of, and having that opportunity to have a conversation with them that first time, I'm actually learning about them as much as the people that are listening to the show are. And so I'm basically just granting you access to their stories. And a lot of times, I don't like to use the word interview, because one thing that I learned in radio was that when somebody feels like they're being interviewed, they kind of give you the stiff, and they kind of give you the protocol answers, the media trained answers, so to speak. So I like to make it feel like it's always a conversation where we can just, sit down, and I tell people, if you want to sip on a drink or sip on some tea while you're talking, but really just giving us access to the real them. Because a lot of times, especially with entertainers, there's the stage name and there's the government name. And those are two different people.
Right.
I don't mind hearing stuff about the stage name, but I would rather learn about the government person, the person that you are before you became the stage name.
Understood.
So I can interview Jay-Z, but I'd rather talk to Sean Carter, so to speak. So that's basically what the premise of it is, man. Just learning more. And again, I don't know if you want to touch on this now, but just the opportunity to talk to a lot more people outside of Baltimore now. I'm literally talking and meeting a lot of them for the first time. Like, the first time that I see a lot of these people are when they pop on the camera, 5 minutes before the show is ready to start. So
Right.
it's just that opportunity, man, for me as a fan of people, to get to know them better, and then also, translate that to the people that are viewing the show.
All right. So here comes the circle around. You've had a lot of well-known guests on your show. And I've wondered, and some people other may have wondered. And if you can tell us, how did you make those connections? You get the, people that we see and we hear, and we see videos of them. They're appearing on AccessGRANTed.
Yeah.
So how's that happening?
Because I'm known now. I'm just like, no, man. Actually, it's a lot of networking. I've had the honor and privilege since probably like 2018, 2019, somewhere around there, when I was still doing radio, to meet a publicist by the name of MJ Savino. And the list of people that she has that she represents is absolutely amazing. So like the special eds and the comedian talents and people like that. The guy, gosh, I can't remember, Speech from Arrested Development, people like that are all people that she has represented. But to be honest with you, man, I've also coldly inboxed people on Instagram, got an email address and worked it, because my thought
Cold
process.
contact?
Yeah. I've gotten, in fact, I'll be honest with you, my first celebrity guest was Melba Moore, and that's the way that I got her.
Wow.
Yeah. She's on Facebook. And in her information, she has an email listed, and I shot out an email. And of course, it wasn't her directly that responded to me, but it was actually her publicist that got back to me and said, give me the information and give me some dates. And that's how I got her on. And I've actually gotten a few celebrities like that. My thought process is, all they can say is no. And if they say no, then it is what it is. But you have to. Somebody that was on the show a couple of weeks ago, her name is Cassandra Vaughn. She's actually the writer from season 3 through 5 of The Wire.
Wow.
She told me that for a lot of the shows that she does similar to AccessGRANTed, she's gotten information off of Internet Movie Database, IMDb. It's kind of like the world,
right,
catalog for
right,
actors and stuff like that.
Correct.
And she just reaches out to them. And so I'm stealing that idea in 2024 when we come back around, and just, again, just a lot of networking, man. You just never know who knows who. Trey Chaney, he's from The Wire. I actually met him in Baltimore for an anti-bullying event, and hit him up when I started the show, and he was like, sure, man. So just a lot of luck and a lot of work, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So and again, because I stay so busy, but I'm down here at my desk in the evenings, so sometimes I run up on your show while you're doing it, or I tune in afterwards. Um, and you, I don't know whether you want to call it the house, hip hop, rap, whatever. You tend to be in that arena, but for you, like I'm saying, not Mr. Antwon Grant. Where are you musically? We knowing what the folks at the show too, but where are you musically? What do you listen to?
I'm stuck in the 90s. I'm stuck in the early 2000s as far as like R&B and hip hop. Um, I'm stuck in back in the 70s when, you know, we would go over my Aunt Bobby, who just passed away a couple of months ago. We would go over her house and, you know, the the adults would be in the house adulting and the kids would be, you know, outside being kids. And we would come in the house and, you know, Earth, Wind and Fire or the Gap Band, you know, and all of that kind of stuff would be playing. I will always be, you know, old school R&B, old school soul, um, old school hip hop. I listen to a lot of, you know, the new stuff just because for what I do, I kind of have to stay in the know of what's going on. But a lot of that stuff is hard on my ears. You know what I mean?
I do,
For
I
obvious
do.
reason. And that's no slight, that's no disrespect. It's just, you know, not my cup of tea. But you know, I'm definitely like New Edition is my favorite group ever. Like I'll tell anybody that, and I see them almost every time they come to Baltimore.
Yeah.
But that's really where I am. You know, it depends on the mood. It depends on the day. You can also, if I'm in the car, hear me listening to Michael McDonald from
Doobie
gosh, what's the
Brothers.
group? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got on to him from the show What's Happening when they were on there. The
Doobie
episode
Brothers
where
was on What's Happening?
yeah, the episode where Rerun was jumping up and down and the tape recorder fell out of his coat because he was illegally recording it for the guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So you know, and I'm also like I used to be a big jazz fan. It was just something about the saxophone that I always loved. So I would listen to, you know, jazz music with, you know, saxophone and stuff like that. But for me, literally, at this point, the only time that I really listen to music is in the car when I'm driving. So it all depends on the day. You know, it all depends on the mood. It all depends on what's going on.
Yeah. A lot of my music listening, like you say, is in the car or down here when I'm down here at night by myself.
Mhm.
I've been doing a lot of what we're doing now, and that when I'm editing on the video, if it's a music background or something, I'm listening more to that. But I like when I can just throw something on. And you were talking about our R&B and where you at now. Me and the wife, we look at stuff throughout the week, but Mondays, that's hamburger or sub night Mondays. And
Ah,
that's what
okay.
we do it. You know, I'll either cook burgers or I'll cook subs, and we'll catch something and we look at it. So as she's getting ready to turn in, she turns in, earlier than me. I'll come down here, but as we come off of the show or the movie that we're watching, I go to this thing called Song Quiz, which is on the Amazon Fire. I
Yeah.
2000s and 2010s, I know nothing. I know nothing. All of the females sound alike to me.
Got you.
But from my past and from my past as DJ, I'm always in for a beat. I love a beat. I don't even need any vocals,
Hmm.
but that beat that gets me. But that song quiz is I should say go hit the 2000s. I'll hit the 2000s. Bang. It's supposed to be going head when like 2010, bang. And she's pulled up, that's Ariana Grande, because like you said, I'm way older than you. But it's the music that was played when I was young, and this is Baltimore. So on the corners, the guys were doing doo wop, and
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's where you heard it. You get
Pennsylvania
the original
Avenue.
song later. Yeah, yeah. So
And honestly, man, for the last 2 weeks, I've listened to a lot of a bass guitar artist goes by the name of Buddy Jordan, and you know him because he used to be the bass player at St. Stephen's AME.
Eddie Jordan.
That married Jaconda.
He got some recorded material.
He has an album out. You can find it on all your streaming platforms. I actually had him on the show. He was probably one of my last shows that I did for the year. But the crazy thing about it was when I approached him about being on the show, I thought it was a new album, but that album has actually been out for a couple of years. And it's not a lot of singing, very little, if any singing on there at all. But you know how talented he is as a bassist, and
Right.
He's picked some amazing musicians to work with. So that project's been pretty good to listen to.
I'm gonna have to hit that because I don't know if I'll ever go into my background, but jazz, I can listen to almost anything except for that screaming metal or and some of the stuff that's coming now. Like I said, I can get beyond some of the singing or lack thereof, depending on who the artist is, just by what the melody and the beat is. So but it's just me. I'm just from that old school.
The views expressed by Anthony Spencer.
Where people sang and they didn't have vocoders and something to change the voices. All right, so and we're coming around to the last part, and then I'll get into. So, what is the future for AccessGRANTed? Are there any long range goals, or you just riding until the wheels fall off, or what do you see yourself 5 years? Do you see yourself doing AccessGRANTed? And if it's AccessGRANTed, on what platform, and just how do you see it?
I hate that question. That's tough, man.
I thought I had to get a good one in there.
You know what? The best thing about AccessGRANTed for me right now is just the fact that on Mondays at 7 o'clock, I can go down in my basement, shut the door. Usually have some AccessGRANTed signature Long Island iced tea in my hand.
Yeah, I was going to talk about the merchandise and stuff, but
and just sit down and have a conversation with people, man. And it's just so easy to not have that pressure of having to travel to a radio station, having people, your guests having to get there, especially this time of year. We had a little bit of snow today. This time of year, weather is always an issue. But so for me right now, this is like a business hobby, so to speak. You know what I mean? If, God forbid, the OWN network or, somebody, came to me and offered some kind of a bigger platform for it, I definitely would consider. But if not, then I'm content with doing this, because when you're doing something that you love, it doesn't feel like a job, and you actually enjoy it. So, me being someone that's worked from home for the last 4 years, now I feel like I'm working both of my jobs from home. So this is kind of, just that relaxing for me. I don't know. I definitely can't answer the 5-year thing. But the great part about it is if I woke up tomorrow and decided that I didn't want to do it anymore, just wouldn't do it anymore. Right. It's literally just that simple for me.
Okay.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's literally just
it is what it is, and it's real.
Yeah, the most that I probably would do, like if I just lost the vibe and didn't want to do it anymore, the most that I would do probably is finish off the calendar, because most of my guests are booked in advance. So I would probably just, out of respect to the guests, honor those commitments. And then after that last one that I had on the calendar, I would just say,
right. And AccessGRANTed is on hiatus for the month of December?
Yeah. I usually try to take the month of December off just to decompress, and it's crazy because it always goes fast. It seems like once it's Thanksgiving, then it's my birthday, then it's Christmas, and then it's January again. But I do that just to, try to, keep my mind off of doing this. But it's crazy because even during this time that I haven't been doing shows, I've still been putting out a little bit of content and also getting the 2024 schedule together. So right now, we're probably booked through March already for 2024. And it's been that way for a while because I started working on that calendar probably like back in September or October. So even when you don't see me, there's still stuff going on behind the scenes.
So sometimes I strategically, and I've only had this is like the seventh spotlight that I've done, and on a couple of them, I've kind of in the back of my mind wanted to help out the person that I'm speaking with. You already have a following. You already have a fan base. Um, but with that being said, how, and this is the last question before I get into, how do you look at that subscribers and fan base? Do you pay a lot of attention to it?
Um, that's another one of those questions, man.
No. Hey,
Um,
we might have a part two now.
yeah, I've had to learn to stop worrying about the numbers, so to speak. Because when I look at the fact that I've been doing this for 3 years now, and on my YouTube channel, I only have about 200 and something subscribers. I think it's like 245, 246, somewhere around there. Um, I look at it as, wow, really? But then I look at it and say the analytics of it all shows that people are watching. They just not necessarily subscribed.
Mhm,
They haven't clicked that little button or,
mhm,
hit the thing, and
mhm,
stuff like that.
mhm.
And there's been times when I've sat on a show and when you're live, you can't literally see everybody that's watching at that time.
Right.
So when I get off of the live and maybe the next day go back and click on, say, the show on my Facebook channel, and I've seen that 400 or 500 people have watched it, I was like, even if they only came in and watched for a few minutes, you had no idea.
Right.
So I tend not to get worried about that, but at the same time, when you have platforms like these, platforms like what you have, we have to build. We have to try to build.
Right.
The fortunate thing for me is that in addition to what you see live, there's also audio recordings that go on the various streaming platforms, and I'm actually monetizing off of those.
Great. Great. Great.
Um, and I love that because uh you can go on the website and you can see the different countries that people have listened to your show from. So for me to know that, not only in the United States, but people in Canada, people in the UK, people in Germany and stuff like that, Switzerland and places that I could never even fathom,
Definitely
actually,
outside of Baltimore.
right, exactly. The fact that they've actually taken time to, sit down and listen to a show, is mind blowing for me. And that's enough for me. Am I making enough from that to retire tomorrow? Of course not, but baby steps. And if it gets to that point where it grows, then, awesome.
Right. And that's and like you say, you mentioned our second YouTube channel, VLF Nation, where this will appear. Um, I know we're starting out, but I do look at like our main channel, church channel has like 99, 101, and we're
Yeah,
still down in the 20s.
right, right.
But I have to say, and I will be upfront with everybody here. I look at how you do your show, and I've become a little bit more relaxed on mine.
Mm.
We also do the news and announcements for the church, and that's usually upstairs. And I have the camera set up with the light ring and everything, and I find myself a little bit more, I don't know, plastic. But down here at my desk where my music is, and my CDs, you can see
The
those over
comfort
there,
zone.
my books
Yeah.
are here. I'm comfortable and I can use this camera, and I'm probably going to get another camera, but I'm not worrying about the numbers either.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying doing what I'm doing, and if somebody wants to watch it, then fine. I'm great with it.
I mean, you know what? And I'm gonna be honest with you, man, just to piggyback on that, like I use Pastor Phil as kind of like
Oh
a
wow.
benchmark because this is a guy who started his church, you know,
Yeah.
upstairs above the
Yeah.
daycare at
Right.
St. Stephen's. And I know for a fact there's many times where he could look out in that congregation and could have been discouraged because, he doesn't see the numbers that, he may want to see, but he
Right.
sees the numbers that God has for him to see.
Right.
But I
Well,
mean,
that circles back around to what you were saying with the number of subscribers that you have.
right,
Just like VLF, you may have 200 plus subscribers, but they're loyal subscribers.
right,
Just like
right.
he
Exactly.
has, we're not filling up the church, but we got loyal people with that church, and
Exactly.
everybody's working too.
Exactly.
I
And
plan on interviewing him, that to show how he came from, in the little brick building, and where we are now, because
and
I was
for
there on Saturdays.
yeah, yeah, and for as small of a church as we are, we make a mighty impact. So
Man,
I feel like I make, I pray that, I'm making some kind of an impact with the show. And I can tell that I am, because a lot of times, very randomly, I'll come across a person either online or in person, and they just give me, some encouragement, or they'll tell me that they were watching the show, and, and I'll be like, man, I had no idea. You know what I mean? So
I can't remember who I was with, but I was in a dollar store and they recognized the emblem.
wow.
It was a white girl, little cashier,
Wow.
and she was like, "Access granted."
Wow. See,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, see stuff
Okay.
like that. You
Yeah,
just never,
and that's what I'm saying. The logo is, this is fantastic, but for somebody just in a Dollar Tree,
yeah.
Dollar General, the one up on Eastern Avenue, to look at it and know what it was,
Wow, that's crazy.
that
That's crazy.
that speaks volumes. That
Shout
speaks
out.
volumes. I get compliments on it all the time, but this girl knew exactly what it was. So I usually end my show, and I like how you segued in, and I'm going to steal that. The interviews, um, that that description is apt, and I'm glad that you'll be appearing on Conversations with Fee, that premieres tonight at 7 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
And that Conversations with Fee. So that'll come on tonight. But I also like the analogy of the difference between, the stage persona and the real person. So is there anything you'd like to tell us about Antwon?
Um, I think everybody, especially VLF Nation, pretty much knows Antwon. Like, um, I had a conversation with somebody from the church that didn't realize that my mom is my mom. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I to this day, that's still a surprise to people. I don't know, but Antwon, man, is just, you know, um born and raised in Baltimore City, man, and there is definitely a difference between Mr. Antwon and Antwon Grant. Antwon was the oldest of three boys raised by a single mother, and it was tough. It was tough. I've lived in the projects. We've been through a lot of stuff, that if you just meet me and talk to me, you would never imagine. But it's been rough, man. But through the grace of God, we've been able to persevere, through a lot. And the fact now that I come in on Sundays, man, and I'm up on the choir stand singing and directing, never was in the thought process coming up, man. If you would have told me this, I'll have to say about 30 years ago now, because I've been doing it for 20 plus at St. Stephen's. But if you would have told me, like, back in my 20s, that I would be in church, period, better yet, doing something, as much as I do and have done in the church, I would ask you what you were smoking and might ask you for something,
Right.
honestly. But
If anything, we're transparent about who we are.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, man. But that's it, man. Like I said, I think people that know me, like, I'm a what you see is what you get kind of person. I can't put on the front and try to act like something that I'm not. So I can say that I've grown as a person. I've gotten a lot smarter, a lot wiser. If I knew a lot of things back then that I know now, there's no telling, where life may be. But I feel like that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Good, good.
Not only from a professional standpoint, but from the podcast standpoint, from the personal standpoint, everything just kind of, has worked out the way that God intended it to be. And I'm happy with that. So,
Good.
Yeah.
Good. You seem to be. And I'm glad we both landed in the same place, and
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I think it's improved our relationship. It's always been
Absolutely.
good, but
Absolutely.
I'm glad we both landed there. But even where we are now, I'm glad that a lot of people landed there because
Absolutely.
it's different.
It is.
It's different,
It is.
and that the camaraderie, the support, the love we have for each other. That term VLF Nation is not just a term; it is a force to be reckoned with. You know, um, Pastor said we're a gospel gang, and I think we are. We support each other, and it doesn't matter, right? And it doesn't matter what we do when we do it.
Absolutely.
It's just who we are. So
And
I know you're on your way to another appointment.
rehearsal.
We're both that
Rehearsal.
there you go, rehearsal.
Rehearsal.
And I will have to because I would like this. I'm hoping this will be ready for tomorrow evening.
Sure.
And I still want to catch conversations with Fee, and I still want to try. Since I've been doing this, I haven't seen a whole evening football game because it's on,
Wow.
but
Which is
I'm
not even
doing
right.
this.
Right.
So it is what it is. But we're doing what we're supposed to be doing at the time we're supposed to be doing it.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna stop this recording, and people are gonna know I'm gonna speak to you a little bit before you run out the door. But I thank you for coming on tonight.
Everybody just cheer for the Patriots tonight because they played Pittsburgh. Yeah, I said it live.
Yeah, well, Derek is mad, but
That's
anyway.
exactly what I said.
All right, everybody. This is the spotlight on Access Granted with Mr. Antwon. See you. Be blessed. We love you all. So there you have it, the interview with the spotlight interview. Okay, let's start over. So there you have it, conversation with Antwon on Access Granted. I have to say that I'm becoming a little bit more relaxed in doing these things, and I hope that I'm getting better as we go along because I don't wish to trip you up by me tripping up. Um, and I have to say that I have enjoyed doing each one of the spotlights, even the ones with a little bit of more serious or heavy subject matter. But I enjoyed this with Antwon. It is just another extension of how we are. We can have those conversations. I can, if you've seen conversations with Fee and you see the back and forth between Mishan, Antwon, and Eddie, that's what we do all the time. We genuinely like being around each other. So I genuinely liked this spotlight. Um, and I really believe there's probably enough subject matter that we can circle back around maybe in a few months or so after he comes off a hiatus and has some more guests. So don't be surprised if you see another spotlight on Access Granted 2. So, as I signed off on the actual recording, I'll sign off now. Thank you for tuning into the Spotlight. Um, like, share, subscribe, share, comment. Um, but thank you for taking the time that you took to look at this. And like I said, I'm having fun. So, this is Anthony Spencer for the Voice Spotlight. Thank you. Be blessed and have a nice day, morning, or whatever time that you look at this. Thanks again. I appreciate you. Bye.